Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the incredible true story of a 19-year-old teacher, a simple ball of twine, and 13 children who found themselves facing down one of the deadliest blizzards in American history.
So picture this. It's January 12th, 1888, and it's a deceptively beautiful day in Nebraska. The sun's out, the air is unseasonably warm. So warm, in fact, that farmers are out in the fields and kids are walking to school without their heavy winter coats. Absolutely no one had any idea that this perfect calm was really just a lie, the quiet before a storm that would be remembered for centuries.
And right in the middle of all this, inside a tiny sod schoolhouse in a place called Mira Valley, a 19-year-old teacher named Minnie Freeman is teaching arithmetic to her 13 students. Now, even though she was young, she took her responsibility for those kids very seriously. Of course, she was completely unaware of the absolute catastrophe that was brewing just over the horizon.
Well, that morning calm was shattered in what felt like an instant. You see, this wasn't just any storm. This was a cataclysm. A true white hell that came down so fast and with such fury that it would eventually earn the name the Schoolchildren's blizzard.
The speed of this thing was just staggering. It's incredible to think about, really. It went from a pleasant, sunny day to a desperate fight for survival in just a matter of minutes. The change was so sudden, so total, that it caught everyone completely, and for many, fatally, off guard.
I mean, can you imagine the physical shock of an 80-degree drop in temperature in just a few minutes? The air itself basically became a weapon. You had 60-mile-per-hour winds driving these tiny particles of ice so hard they felt like shards of glass hitting your skin. The wind was so violent it actually tore the roof clean off of Minnie's schoolhouse.
So now, snow is pouring into this crumbling school. Her 13 students, some of them as young as 6 years old, are screaming in terror. The walls are literally shaking, and the building is falling apart around them, and Minnie Freeman is faced with an absolutely impossible choice.
There was no good option here, none at all. If they stayed inside the schoolhouse as it fell apart, they would absolutely freeze to death. But if they stepped outside, they'd be walking into a zero-visibility wall of ice and wind. Either choice, really, seemed like a death sentence.
And she knew the stakes. Because on that very same day, other teachers made what they thought were the most logical choices. Some sent their students home, but the kids just got lost in the whiteout and froze, sometimes just steps from safety. Others kept their students inside, thinking they'd ride it out, and they were later found huddled together, frozen solid. Minnie knew. She knew she had to try something different.
So, staring down two paths that both led to certain death, Minnie basically invented a third. She relied on her own ingenuity and a simple object she happened to find in the schoolhouse, a ball of twine. And to keep the terrified children calm, she told them they were all going to play a game.
Now this wasn't just a plan. It was a stroke of absolute genius in the face of chaos. She created a human chain, a literal lifeline. She tied each and every child to that rope, double-checking the knots, and she even put the smallest ones in the middle for extra protection. Then she tied the final end around her own waist. Their goal? A farmhouse, 1 mile away. A mile that might as well have been 100.
And this was a journey into a white hell. Visibility was zero. You couldn't even see your own feet in the waist-deep snow. She started counting her steps, just trying to navigate from memory. The cold was so intense her skin actually started to split. The children kept falling, getting buried in snow, but that rope would pull them back up. She just knew, if she stopped for even a single moment, they would all die. After what had to have felt like an eternity out there, battling that storm, her outstretched hand hit something solid. It was the wooden wall of the Ricker farmhouse. They had made it. She just hammered on that door with every last bit of strength she had. The second they stumbled inside, out of the blizzard's fury, what's the first thing Minnie did? She counted. 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 13. Every single one of her students was safe. And to really truly grasp the scale of what she did, you have to understand this number. Across the plains, 235 other people, most of them children just like hers, died in that storm. Minnie Freeman, facing the exact same impossible odds, didn't lose a single life in her care.
Well, when the story of her incredible journey finally got out, Minnie Freeman went from being a completely unknown schoolteacher to a national hero. Her bravery just captured the imagination of the entire country.
I mean, she became an overnight sensation. Letters and gifts poured in from all over America. She even got over 80 marriage proposals. A popular song was even written about what she did called 13 Were Saved. But what's really fascinating to me is how she reacted to all of this sudden fame.
Despite everything she'd done, which was so clearly extraordinary, she stayed incredibly humble. Whenever people would ask her how she pulled off such an amazing feat, she'd just say, "I did what any other person would have done." For her, it wasn't about heroism. It was simply about doing her job, her duty to protect those children.
You know, Minnie Freeman's story really leaves us with a powerful question. It teaches us that when you're facing absolute chaos, true heroism might not be about superhuman strength. Sometimes it's about the simple but profound act of choosing responsibility when everyone else is paralyzed by fear. It's about finding that one single thread of hope and holding on for dear life.